Sorry, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's an honor to be able to speak here. Very quickly, I'll try and keep the presentation short so that we can do more of an interactive. I'll look forward to actually having a conversation and engaging with whatever thoughts you might have on whatever I speak or what I don't speak also. So we can discuss issues which have not been covered. I thought this is how I'll run it through my presentation, and then I'll finish in about half an hour or less, and then we have an hour for an interactive session. Since Professor Hill was a little parsimonious in his introduction of my, I'm just joking, but these are the stations where I've actually lived and served. The asterisks, I've been in Washington, in Beijing, across East Africa, West Africa, and in Europe I've been in Brussels, Paris and Budapest. And of course Manila, and the countries in the box are the countries I've worked with from headquarters when I'm in New Delhi. I've dealt with these countries, so I have a fair bit of global experience from the foreign policy aspect over the last 4 decades nearly now. So this is just to give you a profile. I'm very pleased to say that I also have another link to Ireland, which I actually sort of knew, but it had slipped off the radar. I think, of course, many of you probably know Blessed Edmund Rice. He was here from Kilkenny, Ireland. But the interesting part, which is my link, is that his sort of the educational mission founded New Delhi's #1 school called St. Columba's School, and that's my alma mater. And it also at some stage was probably India's #1 school. But it's now sort of dropped off the rankings. We're trying to figure out what to do about it, but that's another story. But during my days, it was the school. I mean, you sort of went to St. Columba's School. Started with 33 kids in the 40s and went on to about 33,000, 35,000 kids. So it became quite a big school. So this is the bond I have with this one. Of course, Dublin and India, I mean, I just thought we'll try and get some common connects. Many of you are obviously aware we are sitting at the Trinity Center for Asian Studies, and Ananda Kumaraswamy he was a famous art historian, by the way, who studied at UCD, and some of you may have heard the name, I don't know, but my link to him again comes because his collection was in the United States and India purchased the collection, and then to make sure it all sort of went off well, I've sort of accompanied that collection back to India. So he's quite a famous art historian and his work. But the link with Ireland and Dublin is that he studied at UCD in the early 1900s, Ananda Kumaraswamy. And then of course we have the business link, Palonji Misri, which is then, as Professor Hill mentioned, that maybe if you want to talk to the Tata group, there are other people like Palonji Misri and all in the group that you might like to approach and see. Yeah. And of course all the pharma companies and the IT companies, the headquarters here, many of the nurses in the medical profession and doctors in your Dublin's hospitals coming in from India. And of course in the cultural, there's now Diwali at Mansion House. I mean, you might wonder that celebrating Diwali, so what's the big deal? The big deal is celebrating it in Mansion House. You can have a Diwali at Trinity or you can have a Diwali at the Indian Embassy, that's different. But when the Mansion House is done, then there's a different connotation and significance to that. It started a few years back also with President Obama at the White House. So I mean, it is becoming a little more thing, but then we are glad that Ireland also sort of has accepted the Diwali celebration there. And the Bollywood sort of film dance and all that during St. Patrick's celebration. So I think that's another good sign of our relationship doing well and moving forward. So briefly we put this up as these are the broad highlights, as you can see, as I said, even going up to the national anthem. And then of course you have our Indian Embassy. We opened quite early here, just after our independence, which was in 1947. By 1951 we had already opened our embassy, so it's obviously one of the first embassies to be opened here. And Ireland reopened theirs in about a decade later. The sad story of the Air India Kanishka tragedy, I don't know if many of you are aware of it, the air crash off Cork. So that's the sort of other link that we have, which is of course a little sad, but that's nice that there's a memorial there, and people do go there often. All our political leaders, when they come, sort of go there to pay their respects on that occasion. So that's this thing. And then of course there's the You now have a consulate general in Mumbai. So, no, it's okay, no problem. Which is our main commercial capital. How many of you have been to India, by the way? Okay, so there are a few who haven't been, but there are, okay, yeah. So at least okay, so that's, Mumbai is actually the heart of the commercial and financial capital. Something like New York and Washington. So there's New Delhi and Mumbai. So that's the clear sort of distinction. So on the different sets of collaboration, this is how I'll just put it. The political level, it's all very good relationship between the top levels. We have Prime Minister Modi has visited here. Your President Mary Robinson visited India a few years back. So we have all the agreements in place. Everything is signed. We have economic trade relations going up to 16 billion euros annually. People to people is very strong Indian community, 80,000 and probably growing. About 10,000 students, so that's a nice number of students, and it's very good Irish visa policies and work policies, so students are able to come, people are able to come and work, so that's nice and give a boost to the Irish economy. Unfortunately, there have been some incidents, but we can talk about it during the discussion later. Then of course science and technology, it's like, those are the sectors that we have. During COVID, by the way, Ireland did contribute a lot towards India. So we got some sort of help from Ireland during COVID, and we're very grateful for that, which was sent. Some the oxygen concentrators and stuff like that. We got in medical equipment, which you were strong at. And probably with 5 million people, you didn't need that much. We had 1.5 billion people to look after. So any additional piece of equipment or anything in the first few stages was really required. After which, of course, you're probably aware that COVID medicines and supplies went out to over 100 countries out of India, most of them free of cost. So while other countries, all of you know the names also, the countries were still hoarding supplies. India was sending out supplies while it hadn't yet even vaccinated its own people, but we were still sending out supplies, and we ended up sending to over 100. And many, unfortunately, European countries and the US and all had supplies which could vaccinate their people 3, 4, 5 times. So they had that much supplies hoarded, because everyone thought, all of us have lived through that. Luckily, we survived to tell the tale, but so we are. It was a sad story. Then we come to, of course, we talked about the students' exchange. So as I was saying, all the agreements are in place. We have even the double taxation avoidance agreement, so people can come and work. We have these ICCR chairs with the different universities, University College in Cork and the Dublin City University. You probably recognize your minister, there, and that's our minister. That's our ambassador in Dublin, and that's your ambassador in Delhi, Kevin Kelly. Very good man, good friend of mine. I was having dinner with him the day before, just before coming into Dublin, so great guy. So we have lots of the formalities of the exchange of diplomatic documents and all that is sort of goes on well, which by the way you might consider normal, but it isn't normal. With many countries there are many issues, so these things don't get sorted out. So anytime it gets done, we are quite happy that it's done, because often small ticklish things can keep on holding these things for unlimited periods of time. Then of course we have collaboration even at the UN Security Council as non-permanent members of the Security Council, so we collaborate there also on climate change, peacekeeping, maritime security, so the entire gamut of areas. So we come to this next section. I don't know, this chart may not work here. Let me see if it works. I'm trying to play this. Yeah, how nice. This is just showing you how India and China as share of world GDP, up till you can see up till 1700, that's the share. And UK and US haven't even begun to appear on the chart, So this is how, actually it was supposed to move in parallel, but there's something in the software glitches and all that. So you can see the chart is moving, up to, from the beginning of the century, of the AD, 180 to about 1700 AD, this is where it reaches. India and China, share of world GDP. UK and all don't even start, and this is an OECD study, by the way. I didn't bring out this chart. So UK is now just beginning, and that's when they started conquering India, and India starts dropping. China sort of slightly drops, India drops a huge bit. UK starts beginning when they take over, come to India and sort of we become colonies. You can see UK starting to rise and how US is just beginning now. Sort of it's giving you a good glimpse of how it's actually supposed to move in tandem, but yeah, it's roughly showing you where we are. And you can see by the beginning of the 1900, this is where we sort of ended. So colonialism or being a colony, I mean, that's where we came down to from this. And this is an OECD study, Magnus Anderson study. So from there, so today, this is the figures for 24 and 25, last year and this year. We are close to 7%. We are close to 7%. I've got Ireland down there. I think you're doing expected to do well this year. You're at 3%. And 1.2% as your growth last year. We are there, the fastest growing major economy in the world, and the rest are here, China, US, and they're all sort of fitting in there. We've got Brazil. Oh, I've got a pointer here. Okay, yeah, I could use that. So even South Africa. So it's not just that it's our economy just because it's still developing economy. We have a lot of scope. Obviously, our base rate is very low, but even others like South Africa are not growing that fast. So there are issues which hopefully we have resolved, but maybe we need to do a little better. But we can discuss that again later. And the forecast up till 2030, you can see, is over 6%. So it's a pretty stable sort of growth that we are expecting for the coming up to the end of the decade. We come to a little bit of the foreign policy part, how we move from non-aligned. This is the non-aligned movement just after independence. And then we had this Indochina war, a very big war in '62, which sort of really pushed us back a lot. In '71, there was the war with Pakistan, when Bangladesh was formed. And then, of course, we started our reforms of all sorts of different sectors. And we had our nuclear tests in the '90s. And to assert our strategic autonomy that we will do what we need to do for our security. We were put under huge sanctions, just like Iran is being sanctioned today. Difficult for us to imagine, but India was also sanctioned exactly in the same manner, just like Iran, or like North Korea is today. So India was in the same basket in the '90s, late '90s, after a nuclear test, till we sort of managed to convince the US and the rest of the world that India is not Iran and not North Korea. So there was a lot of diplomatic activity, and then the world realized it's better to have India with itself inside the tent, as we call it, rather than outside the tent. Otherwise, we were sort of being kept out. And then, of course, today there's this Indo-Pacific, there's a Quad, and the BRICS engagement. We'll talk more about the BRICS. So, yeah, the BRICS. So today, BRICS, of course, many maybe you all are aware about it, that it's now bigger than the G7. The G7 is the big seven developing countries, developed countries, United States, UK, Japan, or part of the G7. BRICS, of course, is now bigger than that in terms of GDP, in terms of population, and as of today, there are 11 members, and they have got about 20 people wanting to join the group. So that's the new BRICS members. So just see what the BRICS coverage will be. And whereas the G7 is the old coverage of US, Canada, and a bit of Europe here, France, Germany, UK, and then you have Japan here. So that's the G7, which used to set the global rules, but things are changing over the last 5-7 years or decade. And now it's BRICS. People are wanting to see what the BRICS is doing and what they're up to. We'll come to this section now. This is interesting because this tells you that for the first time we actually have sort of a big vision for 2047 for India, and these are the figures that we have sort of targeted, which looks quite ambitious compared to where we are today. So let's see if we can get anywhere close to these figures also. That's a point of debate, and we can debate that during the Q&A. But what I wanted to highlight in this is that what we've already achieved, this one, that this is in the last 75 years, we've already gone up 100 times here, 500 times in terms of per capita income, 2,000 times in terms of FDI, foreign direct investment growth. So there's been a huge increase, in all these sectors. So it gives us reason to believe that probably that Vision 2047 is doable in that sense. Similarly, it's not only overall, this has been sort of broken down into different sectors, and we have it the important infrastructure sectors and the others. I mean, we have all of them charted and mapped out. So we are hoping that we will be able to achieve it. These are the figures for that. Same way for the foreign direct investment. The trend line is clear. It's looking good. More and more foreign companies, countries are sort of investing in India, and the target is $1 trillion by 2047, which is quite a good number if we can achieve it. But that's the figure for this. And this is again showing you that in the last 2 years, to contribution to global growth, 50% of the contribution came from just China and India. So China and India together contributed 50% of entire global growth. So it has a huge role to play. All the other countries, just the advanced countries, are not even touching 2%. And you can see where the rest of the countries are in this. What are we doing about it? So moving forward, there's this big corridor we are planning. It's sort of over the sea, over land, rail, again over the sea, and that is from Mumbai, as I mentioned to you, the commercial capital. You can all see the cursor. I'm moving the cursor, so it's sort of so it'll go across here, come into Saudi, and then come across this. And this is where at Israel there's a problem. Obviously you're all aware of the Gaza issue. So that's put this entire project on some sort of a back burner for the last 2-3 years. But we hope, meantime we are building our feeder into Mumbai here, from all over here. It's not so great as of now, and including a bullet train like the Japanese Shinkansen, not like it is actually the Shinkansen, coming in from here, from Gujarat into Ahmedabad to Mumbai, and other feeder trains, road, because we are expecting stuff from here, from Southeast Asia. Instead of it being shipped all the way around and go to Europe, it can come here, go overland, and cut across and go here. So it will be much cheaper and faster if this route works out, and then it lands in Greece, and from Greece you touch all of Europe. So that's what the plan is for this corridor, what is called the India, Middle East, Europe corridor. We also have other corridors, India, Myanmar, Thailand, trilateral. So we have a lot of these corridors of India trying to integrate globally, whereas initially we were sort of quite insulated. But now that our economy is growing, we have got the strength, we are now talking about it. In that context, we have got this, you can see these FTA, that we have got the one with UAE done, with Australia is done, with the UK is done. This EU with UK, EU is the one big one which Ireland will be affected by. We are hoping to have it done by the end of the year. So let's see if that can work out. So the big growth drivers for India's economy. As of now, we are, by the way, the 4th largest economy in the world. We overtook Japan, and so now it's even larger than Japan. We are just behind Germany, and we are expected to overtake Germany in about 2 years' time. So after which it will become the 3rd. So there will be just US, China, and India, and Germany will be 4th, and Japan will be 5th. Yeah. So that's the expectation. Of course, the size of the economy is one thing, just is growing in that sense. But in terms of per capita income, there's a long way to go. But again, that's another issue. But there are roughly 400 million consumers. So that's the size of the market potential class out of the 1.45 billion. So there's still a billion people plus who really don't have enough food to eat, or don't have clothes to wear, don't have electricity, and it's a pretty. In that sense, there's a huge contrast between the 400 million who will consume and the 1 billion who really aren't yet consuming. But that's where again the potential lies, that several million of them are coming into the marketplace every year. So we hope that they'll grow. We have government is now taking a lot of measures with this sort of scheme to produce in India and sell in India, production linked incentives. So lots of that going on. The big sectors where we are focusing, where Ireland could also be interested, renewable energy, because that's your strength in Ireland. So that's a huge sector. Again, you are quite strong in digital economy, smart cities, infrastructure. So that's sort of the sectors that would be of interest. We are at the moment ranking 63rd in the ease of doing business, which is obviously nothing to be very proud about. But what makes us proud is because earlier we were less than 100 or I mean over 100 actually. So we improved to 63, and the target is to sort of keep improving every year. We're moving up every year. We are now allowing 100% foreign investment into many sectors that was not allowed earlier. So that's a lot of things happening there. Again, here we talked about this already. And then we have this new energy sources. While you have wind now, we have hydrogen. So we are focusing a lot on on the hydrogen economy, which we are looking at. So it'll be again green, and we don't have to actually dig for the petroleum reserves in that sense. And then there's ammonia also now coming up. There are lots of challenges that need to be overcome because regulations are still complex in India. There's a huge logistics and supply chain issue, as I told you. Even getting up to Mumbai and all that, there's lots of logistics issues. It takes several days to get there, or a ship that reaches there to empty the container, get them off. Singapore can do it in 3 hours. The ship is done and it can turn around. We probably take 2 weeks or something. So there's huge logistic issues that go on, but we are improving. So just hope that it gets better. Sometimes we talk about the supply chain, so I just thought semiconductors, since Ireland is also, you have the Intel plant here, so but just to understand how it works, I mean, you can see how manufacturing the semiconductor, companies owned in Japan, based in the UK, engineers work here, and the software is US. The machinery which actually makes the semiconductor will actually be located, the facility will be in Taiwan, and the wafers will come from Japan and gases. It will be produced by this Dutch, Japanese and Californian companies, and final testing is in Southeast Asia and assembled in China. So it's a really complex supply chain of this one product, semiconductor. And now, of course, with President Trump and he's trying to he's already upset many of these supply chain issues. So again, we can discuss that, how it will work and what's going to happen. Healthcare also, India is now every third largest producer by volume globally, and every third tablet consumed in the US even is from India. But again, President Trump has yesterday announced, I think, 100% tariff on pharma. Maybe the generics will be exempted and all that. Let's see what happens. But as of now, we did reach quite well in terms of that, and in terms of the COVID vaccine, which, as I mentioned, we supplied to so many countries even free of cost. So that's our pharma, which we're very happy about, and it's quite advanced in terms of medical tourism also. So lots of people now come into India for actually what we call medical tourism. It's quite reasonable. The quality of healthcare is good, and you can probably, in the same money, come, spend, have a holiday, be there with your spouse, and get yourself treated, and go back and probably end up saving quite a lot also. So in that sense, Chennai is, by the way, in South India, is the center. And then there are other centers across. I better quickly wrap up. So we come to this innovation startup. So here another sector that India is quite strong on is in fintech and this e-commerce. So we have a huge third largest fintech ecosystem which is there. Online payments are really picking up. You can pretty much buy off the street vendor, any street vendor anywhere in India. It's pretty unthinkable and unimaginable even for somebody like me who lives there and sees it happening, but you can actually go there, just swipe the phone, and you get your fruits, vegetables off street vendors. So forget about big stores and all that, which is obviously true. And then the e-commerce, where you just go online, place your order, and delivery is within. It's amazing. I mean, you sit down for breakfast and you realize ketchup is over. Before the egg is made and the guys rung the bell and the ketchup is there. It's actually true. Or even more interesting is you're making your whiskey and you realize that you don't have your ice, you don't have some soda or something. All you have to do is just go online and it'll be there before you have taken your first sip even. By the time you're measuring whether you want a 30 cl or 60 cl, he's actually there, the bell's ringing, and it sounds sometimes crazy because you're still, somebody's saying, oh, I don't, or my wife says, oh, you don't have to, and he says, but how did it arrive? So either you've ordered it or some other guy, the guest has himself ordered it. While you're saying, oh, let me look, I can't find it. He says, oh, it's at the door, it's already right. So it's so convenient. It's really unimaginable, this sort of stuff, but it's happening now, routinely. So, and of course, now the small and medium enterprises are also sort of picking up. contributing more and more to, and the government is trying to sort of give them a lot of incentives, because we realize it's not only big companies that are doing that well. We also need, because they are the ones who provide the jobs, the small companies. So we are focusing on that. So there are lots of schemes to sort of get them going. Startup ecosystem, it's the third largest startups ecosystem in the world. So this pretty much, look at the number of unicorns, the 119 unicorns, including 80 startups firstly recognized per day. So there are 80 different startups every day actually being registered officially as a startup. 44 unicorns. Of course, you all know unicorn, the definition of a unicorn, no? It's the company that reaches a valuation of $1 billion. Just after it sort of starts up and it starts maturing, it's already worth $1 billion. That's 44 of them in just 2021. So, so it's somebody's brain, he's thought of the idea, he's put it up, so it's literally a startup, but the big companies, the Intels and the IBMs and the Googles and the Amazons realize that this is the thing I want to buy. Oh, that's a damn good idea, and I'm not going to now, I can't reinvent it, he's already done it. So the valuation, he buys into it, and the valuation of the company is over $1 billion. So there are 44 in that way, 23 the next year. So there's lots of activity therefore in the startup ecosystem. So that's the other thing. These are of course Indian CEOs of the top US tech companies. I think the Indians in the room will probably recognize many of the faces, and Sundar Pichai and Satya Nadella and all that. So all the top sort of US tech companies are dominated by Indian tech talent, which again is being affected by the H-1B visa. I don't know if some of you follow, of course Indians would have followed it. President Trump is sort of creating huge complications in that movement of this tech talent, where even his former advisor Elon Musk said that, look, I can go to war for this. I mean, this is absolutely silly, you can't do this, you can't cut off, because his Tesla and all is sort of built on these guys who come on that visa, and they are sort of working in his company, so now everybody has a problem. So anyway, so now we have gone up from 81 to 39 in terms of this, we have up 42 positions in terms of R&D destination. So largest R&D centers in India. Oracle has the second largest workforce. LG is the largest global R&D center outside Korea. Intel has its largest facility outside the US, R&D. And these are huge facilities with 40,000 people working there. And the other thing about this facility to remember is that it's not just, these are no longer the call centers or what we knew call centers. Then came the R&D sort of really research. Now they are what I call the Global Capability Centers, GCCs. So actually the top management of these companies is sitting there, and people ringing in from Germany or from Canada or Norway or from Australia asking for instructions from this. So these are actually top management, short of being actually the head office, which by the way they are in Ireland, as you know why they are, most of them are in Ireland for, but we did not get into that just now. But so these guys are there because the talent is there, they are there, the action is there. So there are lots of these companies who have now relocating their top of staff there, and therefore giving out instructions across the world. So, but this R&D destination, our weakness is that we still only spend less than 1% of GDP on R&D. The US spends 4%, Israel spends 4.5%, Brazil also spends. We are nowhere close. At 1%, we are not even in the race, so to speak. So let's see, but we are hoping we'll increase it, but it's 1% as of now. Social development, yeah, okay. So from earlier it was trying to develop, the women were a little sort of not up in the forefront in terms of workspace and all that. So things are moving now, and a lot of incentives the government has given. So where we have reached in fact to the point where we are the #1 rank in terms of commercial women pilots. So that's a good figure that we have, commercial women pilots. We actually have 18 fighter women pilots in the Indian Air Force squadron. We have over 35 on our naval warships and actually fighting force. So these are women right up front on the Air Force, Navy, and including commercial pilots. And of course, in the top C-suite positions, 17% are there. Because the government has given its own incentives, trying to get people moving. But it's no longer then trying to develop women, it's now women are leading the development. So there's a huge mind shift change in that sense, already happened because of what's been happening. Just this, again, a few names and faces of prominent women who are in the US tech companies, Indian CEOs. So now we come to the last section. So India, EU, so I just thought this would be of interest just to put it there. The physical, this is actually the physical size. So I have not exaggerated, or it's not blown up. This is the actual size. So from the Scandinavia, you can see, Norway, Denmark, here, Sweden. So from here down to North Africa, it's across, you're here at Tunisia, Morocco. Here it's the tip of France and Spain, actually encompassing France and Spain, going all the way to Russia. So that's the size of what we are talking about, India, sort of encompassing when we do an India-EU comparison. So just for relative size and to comprehend, even for an Indian, it doesn't often sink in that that's where we are. So we have a very good collaboration with the EU, including the latest which we had with trade and technology, which was launched just 2 years back. And bilateral trade, it makes it the second largest trading partner for India with 140 billion euros roughly. And then Green Deal, it's again green sector is good. The FTA, I told you that we are targeting by the end of the year, but we have already been negotiating this since I was working in the government over 12 to 14 years back. So these things take a lot of time, but we hope we have reached the end game now. We've got many of the ticklish factors done with. The IPRs and all that has already been negotiated and put aside. So several of the important chapters are done. Now we are hoping that we can just finish this. We just did the India EFTA agreement, that is with Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, Liechtenstein. In fact, it's starting from 1st October. So in about 2 days or 3 days, the actual agreement will come into effect, which actually envisages creating 1 million jobs with $100 billion in investments. So that's a big agreement that we've got done. This is again just to show you the sectors. Look at the forecast. This is what we are projecting from 2023. Solar is here and is expected to be here by 2030. So we see again EU sort of playing into this, our sort of green growth, what we are planning. So that's the biggest focus area. Our net zero emission goal is 2070, which some of you might wonder is a little too far down the line. But any of you who's been to India will understand why, because we aren't really up there yet. So we had to bargain and sort of delay our transition and to net zero by 2070. We need that sort of time and space to get our development on track. So we are trying to leverage both sides, the India-EU partnership, where again Ireland will play a key role, because Ireland can be seen as a gateway by Indian companies coming in here and moving into the European market, obviously, because you provide a great ease of business, taxation, a good English-speaking environment, it's a friendly environment, friendly government. So in all that senses, so we are hoping to get more and more business to come in here. And the key sectors where India is strong, AI, semiconductor, cybersecurity, are all areas for collaboration. And once we get the FTA done, that should be an easy thing because Ireland is going to be part of the India-EU FTA. So on that note, I think I'd like to just end with this, and thank you so much. Thank you. I overshot by a few